Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to SCMPro Forums Roundtable focused on cement industry. The theme for today's discussion would be digitalization and its impact on cement industry, cement logistics. So let me thank our speakers for sparing time and coming down here for the discussion. I would also like to thank SAP for their support to the roundtable. So let me quickly invite on stage our speakers for today. We have Anjan Sen, VP Logistics at UltraTech Cement, Rahul Karnik, SVP Packaging and Logistics at Ambuja Cement, Shiv Kumar, Section Head at Birla White Cement, Kapil Kapoor, Business Excellence at JK Lakshmi Cement, Girikanth Avadhanula, Director Supply Chain Solutions at SAP, Girish VS, Director Education at Institute of Supply Chain Management. I would request everybody to kindly switch on your controls and join us on stage for discussion. And I would request Girish to kindly lead the discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaisal. Good afternoon, Kapil, Anjan, Girikanth, Shiv, and I am told that Rahul Garnik has got some meeting. He will be joining us in a little while. This is a part of a series where we are trying to explore how post whatever has happened, and I know this is becoming a kind of cliche now. Almost everyone starts everything with a pandemic and ends it with a pandemic. We existed for so long, we were thriving for so long, but nobody wants to give any credit to whatever we have done. So what I would rather look at is that we have been running our supply chain and logistics. In the cement industry, it's more of logistics than the entire gamut of supply chain. This is a unique industry. While most industries across the spectrum look at a logistics cost of around 10 to 13%, and in even the nationally, if you look at it, they say that 13% is a contribution of logistics sector to the GDP of the economy. In the cement industry, and I did it with a few balance sheets which were available publicly. So I did Shree Cement, UltraTech, Dalmia, Lafarge Holcim, Ambuja, ACC. Across this, all of them, one unique thing which I found was that the cost of logistics is very, very high as a percentage of revenue. It amounts to almost 25% if you look at it from the balance sheet perspective. 25% of the costs are attributable to, and all of us are aware of this, and there are a few very interesting aspects of that, and I'm sure you're also aware of that much more than I am. The logistics industry in the cement sector has got a limited lead. We do not normally ship things across the country. We do it within a very small catchment area. Most of the raw material, which is the largest element of limestone, which forms the largest element, is almost practically you're sitting on top of it. Therefore, your inbound costs are much lower than your outbound costs. Very high volumes and a 24/7 operation. The plant never stops, and it is also well known that any delay, any loss is a lost sale forever. You will never be able to recover that amount back. And so therefore there's a very, very core requirement that we meet what is required for our customers, ensure that whatever is being produced is being evacuated, and cement being a large volume product, you cannot store it for long. Even in your plants, the moment you manufacture, you need to evacuate. And today we are all looking at multiple challenges within this whole thing, from getting the a seamless flow of truckers coming into your plant to load and send it out. At the same time, experimenting with multimodal, with rail being a part of it, and hopefully going forward, looking towards sea as one more option, or inland waterways as one of the options which we can explore for logistics function within the cement industry. What we want to look at here in this particular issue is look at some of the pain points within the cement industry, in the logistics sector, and from those sectors develop what could be low-hanging fruit for us to address using technology. Today we have come to a stage where almost technology is becoming embedded in almost all aspects of our lives. Even today we are talking through technology. And therefore, when we talk through technology and when we start interacting, we need to also see how can we look at what are the areas which we can create or we can use to demonstrate the power of technology within the logistics function. And unfortunately, across all supply chains and logistics, this is the last area to attract attention from any management when it goes towards automation and IT. We are always looked at as a cost center. And I keep saying that the first thing we need to get out of this mindset that logistics is a cost center. Without logistics, your company doesn't exist. You may manufacture the best product. I may manufacture the worst product, but if I reach the customer, I sell. It is as simple as that. Though we need to look at ourselves also as a profitability enabler. We enable the profitability of the company. And therefore, we need to look at these issues and bring them together and tie them together to create what can be a discussion on around what are the pain areas and how can we take it forward. So let me probably start with Kapil. Kapil, if you could start off the process by identifying the major challenges to the logistics sector within the cement industry. Sure. I'm not bifurcating as pre and post. For me, the pain points still continue whether it was pre or post. So I leave it to you to choose that.
Sure. In fact, there are not much difference pre and post. Broadly, things remains constant for us, barring the lockdown, which has created problem in terms of labor availability and all. But otherwise, most of the things remains constant. But before answering that, I just wanted to answer one more point which you raised, that the cost of logistics is around 25 to 30% in cement versus other industries at just 10%. So if you just see, per kg price of cement which goes in the market, it's cheaper than the raddi, I would say.
Yes.
Scrap
yes.
से भी सस्ता ये, but it's a heavy density, heavy material. So obviously that is the core reason that though our raw material comes from lime mines which are very adjacent to us, but revenue is not so high that cost becomes 10% of that revenue, and that again tells you that what all are the margins at which cement industry generally operates. And that brings to next point where you said that logistic cost is considered as a cost center. I believe now things have started changing, and people have started considering logistics also as most important factor, and they have started calling it as supply chain segment in the cement industry as well. And and this supply chain has a potential to bring the profit as well as by bringing the value or the price that you earn from the consumers. Because when you are asking about the challenges, so cement industry has a very peculiar challenge in terms of mixing up of prices with the logistic cost. So when you realize any revenue from the consumers, it already has logistic cost imbibed into it, and it becomes very difficult for you to find out that your logistics is inefficient or your brand positioning is inefficient in a particular market. So that is where industry is now has started moving towards area where they have started segregating between these two elements, that logistic has to do its own job and sales team has to do its own job. that is the place where I would say maximum inefficiency is lying in the cement industry, where you can say back unloading happens, that material was supposed to go to some place and it has gone either far ahead of that place or behind that place. Material sometimes does not even get unloaded at warehouses, so that is where warehouses inefficiencies come into place. uh, then when you see the whole supply chain piece as a whole piece together, then the demand forecasting becomes one of the challenge, because within a month you can see very big jump that you can see during a month itself, when demand in the first half may look very bad, second half it will be very high. Then prices across geography or prices changes so frequently and so fast, uh, that your complete supply chain equation changes, that from which plant to serve in which market. So these are the certain challenges which industry is still facing, and for sure there is very high value available in this domain basically, where from where we can earn the profitability.
Yes, yes, Kapil, that's quite interesting. In fact, I do agree that there are some issues which are also peculiar to the cement industry. The logistics most often reports to the sales, and they form a part of the sales effort. And also, yes, the volume versus value, the weight versus value is skewed in the cement industry. You do transport a 50-kilo bag, which costs probably 300 rupees, 350 rupees. I'm not sure of the prices now, but at least 6-8 months back, it was around those prices. So yes, there is a kind of skew when it comes towards the perceived value of the. But there are some other issues also which you did bring up about the skew in terms of demand in a month, which for a commodity product looks very surprising, because as a commodity, you would expect that I would expect that by the month end you get salary. So the first of the month people tend to like, whoever is constructing a house, because I think independent home makers are the largest segment still, a significant segment. The corporate segment would show a even trend. So Anjan, if I were to come back to you and pick it up from there, cement as an industry, the demand should have been much more predictable and normalized. However, we see this spikes going up the first 2 weeks of the month having low sales, and then it goes and across, not just in cement. If you touch any industry, you talk to us FMCG, you talk to a food industry, everyone says that month end is when we have a spike. And when everyone has a month end spike, then the logistics cost also goes haywire, because that's the time when the trucker himself is going to use that time with him. He's going to divert his trucks to wherever he gets maximum. So some of these issues, what in your opinion are the challenges that you see from the cement sector, and some things like an uneven demand? How could we probably look at that differently?
So I think that's a very valid point, and I think if you see India, to that extent, the cement industry is quite different from the worldwide cement industry, in that we are still in that stage where the major consumption of cement is in bagged form, whereas in worldwide the trend is more and more towards the loose cement consumption. So having said that, one of the reasons why this skew is still there, I would say that if you look at it from a generally the company perspective, the company normally bills it to the dealer, and this dealer is a kind of a to a large extent most of the dealers are largely wholesalers, right? So they in turn are selling to a set of sub dealers and retailers whose economy works the same way as the other products work. So it's not that the cycle of money is not very much different in that segment as compared to the other products. Having said that, so what we do typically is that obviously we have, as you said, that the plant capacities are linear, and therefore the plant capacities, if we have to meet the demand in the month end, we have to manage by ensuring that we stock up the warehouses in the initial phase of the month, and we meet the demand surge in demand towards the month end or towards the price hikes that Kapil was referring to. And those are the kind of interventions that we typically do. Having said that, I would just like to bring one point to the table, is that in the last few months, we who have pleasantly observed that the skew has reduced somewhat.
Oh,
And this may be a long lasting phenomenon or a short term, we don't know for sure now. But what I definitely we see is that the P1 that we call that the first 10 days, the demand normally is very low, which has been a little bit better because people are not sure when the lockdowns will come in, or the working hours are not very clearly defined. And therefore, whenever the market there is a requirement, it translates into a real demand for the companies. So to that extent, I think that COVID has brought in a little bit of a reduction in the skew, is what I would say.
interesting. Interesting to see that the skew has kind of evened out from month end to.
Out, but yes, it has reduced a little in terms of where it would be probably, more than 40% would be the last 10 days. Typically that and the first 15 days would be very less, as Kapil was saying. So that trend has somewhat reduced, I would say.
Okay. So if I were to look at this, one of the Kapil, so if I were to take this up again as a function of being transparent or visibility into demand, what do you think are the challenges that you have when it comes to visibility of demand?
So biggest thing is, we are not directly connected with our end consumers, users who uses the cement. There's a big layer between them and us, and that layer over a period of time has made a kind of a tendency to keep margins at every place, and that is where the visibility of demand that we get is the third layer, including of third layer of margins. And the reaction time also is very high, because again it passes through three layers, and that is where the problem comes into picture, where if you are completely dependent on the market indicators, then you might miss out certain things. So, but based on past experience of the people in the organization, every organization, they have certain ideas of different seasonality, different demand pattern and all. So they somehow pick it up very, very fast, that even if there is some trend, what is going to happen. So those kind of experiences has been helping us so far. But nowadays, when you have machine learning and all those things, so much of data of historical data of demand and other things, that has started helping us in terms of predicting demand in much better way. But what Anjan was saying is absolutely right, that skewness has reduced a bit, but still the problem is, when you are seeing demand at individual SKU level and at tehsil level, channel level, then that variation becomes very huge. At macro level, it might look very normalized demand and predictable demand, but at micro level, when you go, it becomes
Yeah,
the
that's a very
problem.
valid. Micro level, it is even become more unpredictable, because you don't never know कि कल कौन सा market में कितना sale होने वाला. Absolutely. Even the sales team probably have Kapil, if you would agree, even the sales team cannot tell us properly कि क्या होने वाला है.
Yeah, because they are also third layer.
Yeah.
Consumer to retailer, then dealer, then wholesaler, then us.
No, actually, in fact, the cement industry should be much more streamlined as compared to an FMCG, where the number of layers are much, much higher. And most of them, including the big daddies, don't have visibility beyond your super stockists. I think, Girikanth, this is something where I would like you to come in with your comments on, if you look at it from a FMCG kind of a perspective, where you have, I don't know, 7 layers, 8 layers before it hits the uh, final consumer. In the cement industry, it's far lesser, 3 or 4. But and yet we have a lot more opacity when it comes to collection of data and all that. What is it that you look at it when you have looked at it from a data perspective and the information flow perspective?
Yeah, Girish. When we look at the way the demand signals propagate, if you have too many intermediaries, there is always a distortion. And like if we look at I will try to bring in the parallels with the FMCG industry. Even they had this particular month-end skew problem, and they focused a lot on, in fact, month-end skew, quarter-end skew. All these were very common for them. They brought in this particular linearity, and by linearity, one is within the organization. Okay, my target setting is not a monthly target. Okay, from the monthly target, I move to the weekly target. I haven't seen anyone moving to the daily targets. Okay, so that is on the sales side. On the second side, what they have done is, while many of them they do the forecasting based on their primary shipment data, they have invested in the DMS solutions where they get the access to the secondary sales data. So to that extent, okay, the distortion is prevented. Even for them, the ideal thing is, let me also go and then see the true demand at the retailer. Okay, while that has not happened yet, at least the progress that they have made is how much the distributor is selling to the retailer. They have that particular data. So as we get more advanced information, okay, the demand signals will get distorted to that. We can reduce the distortion to that extent. For example, when they do the forecasting, okay, again in the CPG industry, we call it the CPG industry. Okay.
Yeah.
Based on the maturity, you have two kinds of players. Okay. The people who do forecasting based on the primary shipment data, the people who do forecasting based on the secondary sales data. Okay. The secondary sales data guys are who have mastered it more. Okay. But when it comes to the last one, it is still a challenge, even for the FMCG, where we call it the sell-in and sell-out data. I am selling it to him, but is he selling it out? Okay. Like we are all engineers, we talk about the degrees of freedom, right? In any reaction. Okay. So like you may talk, we all keep talking about this machine learning, etc. We have tried it out. Okay, unless I get that sellout data, okay, that's the missing data. No amount of machine learning algorithm can help you. Okay, that's the missing link. Otherwise, it is left to the imagination. What is he doing? Is he hoarding or is he selling? Okay, there is a price angle, there is a competition angle. So it is subject to, you can assign it to any one of these variables. So the way I see the journey is to get the secondary sales data, use it for forecasting, and eventually one day, if we are also able to get the actual consumption data, we will be able to get the distortions reduced. And the internal one, where the linearity has to be brought in. As long as our KPIs are set on the monthly targets, okay, this skewness will not, because what will I do? Yeah, on the first of the month, I will think that everything is fine. I just have completed my previous month, okay, and then it takes time for me, okay, to pick up the pace. So they have done it very well. When I look at the leading CPG companies, they have brought in the linearity. at least up to the weekly level. Okay, but within the week, if we see on the 7th day, we see a spike. Okay, that much we can't help it, but yeah, that definitely. So that's what they call it as the pull system. Okay, a lot of jargon, but essentially this is what has to be brought in.
So Anjan, if I were to, Anjan, if I were to take that back to you, some of these things about dealer offtake are pretty much visible when it comes to the cement industry. That's my understanding of the way the operation at the dealer end works, or even at the corporate accounts, the key accounts, where you have a very clear visibility and there's a schedule. So therefore, the key accounts are some of the best accounts to have, while in the trade segment you have a lot of issues but visibility to that extent, and the amount, the inventory at those, are these challenges, or as you mentioned earlier, is the understanding of the markets and demand, is that the challenge when it comes to?
So in case of key accounts, you are right. So in case of key accounts or the institutional segment that we are referring to, there is more predefined schedules are available, and that kind of that kind of visibility is there, and once you have defined the best source and the quality and all has been agreed by the customer, and that after that it is a kind of a steady kind of a service levels, unless there is some drastic changes. And of course, depending on their construction stages, then they have certain requirements can go up and down. So that change, those are the changes that are applicable typically. In case of trade, what we do is we are having a balance of, in case of like cement, you rightly said, we cannot move to a single strategy, Girish, because the cost of servicing from the, if we are able to service from the factory, and most, as you rightly said, that most of the cement companies from the plant primary lead distance is typically within 200 kilometers. So you can actually, if an order is placed today, maybe by definitely tomorrow morning, you can reach at least 70-80% of those orders, or maybe more in certain cases.
Yes.
So to that extent, that reduces the cost significantly, because one handling in cement is 5 rupees a bag you lose straight away. And like Kapil was saying, on something which is so price sensitive a product, every single paisa of cost matters. So to a certain extent, even that visibility also may not translate into a really great kind of a evening out of the thing, I would say. So retailer to dealer information, at least for UltraTech, I can say that we have fairly good visibility now. So we have mapped all retailers and their offtake from the dealers we have. But like Girikanth was saying, actual consumption, that also we have put in place mechanisms. We have connected all the masons who are actually the point of contact for the individual house builders. We have a digital app through influencer app. We have connected all the masons and asked them that you indicate your lifting. I'm sure that is being done by all the other cement companies as well. But there are still some, I wouldn't say black spots, but there are still some visibility gaps that are there.
Kapil, where would you put your visibility gaps?
So I would say right now dealer level we have 100% visibility, obviously, because we bill them directly. But beyond dealer to retailer level, there is one, you say authorized retailers. So for them we have complete visibility. But still there are certain retailers where dealers are selling material which we are not aware. So those kind of visibilities are still missing for us, which we are now building by creating certain mobile applications and all. Regarding influencers, yes, we have set up to get some insights from the influencers. but still it's not so good that we can use that data for our good demand prediction purpose.
I think the base is getting built, Kapil. So
Yeah.
we are in the stage of that. And also one point is that Girikanth was talking about the sell out data. Now, if you look at the industry per se, industry kaisa tha, cement industry, there was a fair portion of retailers before GST who were not even tax registered, right? So all those, those are that is the kind of industry evolution that is happening. And with that, as more and more that everyone is in the fully doing the business as per the norms and everything, then it becomes more easier to capture that data. But Kapil is right, we are not able to fully use that for the demand prediction as of now.
So when we look at this, then let me first ask you before I go back to the technology person. Anjan, if I were to look at it, how would you look at deployment of technology in these areas, especially in the demand sensing and demand aggregation?
So I think, Girish, you have been exposed to our planning systems a little bit, and just for the sake of Girikanth and Kapil also. So we have a fairly robust sales and operations planning process, and we have a JDA tool for the this planning portion, and we have a demand manager in place. And we are moving from currently we are doing the planning at a 10-day buckets. So we have 3 buckets of 10 days each for the month, where the forecast is from the bottom up level. So every territory sales manager, there is a market sales team, has to give the forecast, and they also have a system generated forecast, which is a kind of best fit kind of forecasting tool, generated forecast. But again, so to that extent, Girish, we have the building blocks in place, I would say. But that feeding in from all that data of what the dealers are selling, where the actual consumption is happening, and doing some more predictive kind of forecasting, I think still we have to go a little bit of a level. So if I look at earlier supply chain terminologies, we used to call that CPFR, right? Collaborative
Yes.
forecasting planning.
Planning and forecasting.
Yeah, so that level we are still not there, that the dealer is giving the forecast of what he's going to sell in the next 10 days. But at a taluka level, we are generating the system generated forecast based on the actual sales that are happening from the dealer level. So
Kapil, how would you? Yeah.
Data is there. Sorry.
Hi, Shiv.
Girish, hi. So Girish, over past 2.5 years, actually our organization also started this supply chain journey, where we had created a building block of forecasting demand using best fit model, and then running an optimizer to, kind of allocation of your demand, which is coming at taluka level to different plants, different route modes, and all those things. Uh, that was done at monthly level, obviously, and certain discipline has started coming up, and then gradually now we are in the process of converting that into 4 buckets. Like Anjan said, 3 buckets. We are doing it at weekly basis, and there is a tool which first predicts the demand based on past data, and then it goes back to the to the team, which then based on that data past and basis, they put their experience and then modulate that demand, and then it gets generated from the lowest bottommost person and goes till the level of marketing head. And this is how we are trying to mix and match between the technology piece, which gives you the past trend, and the current exposure that people are seeing in the market and rationalizing it to get, relatively better demand for a week.
Thanks, Kapil. Essentially, when we look at it, the basic building blocks of the technology for demand planning and SNOP are in place, and what we are looking at is how to increase that reach and get more out into the front line from where the sales happens, the first line information,
I think the real-time demand sensing, Girish, is where we are still to move ahead. So even with within the 10 days, now we are thinking of a dynamic SNOP process of 3 days or 5 days. But then I don't know whether we are ready with that to that extent. That's something which we'll be piloting over the next few months and see how it goes.
Girikanth, we have Shiv Kumar, who is from within the cement sector, but has got a dynamics which is very different from the grey cement market. The grey cement market has got a very small footprint when it comes to the area where they dispatch. Very rarely you see of dispatchers going from one corner of the country to the next. Shiv Kumar looks at it from the national perspective. Therefore, his products travel much more than the grey cement would travel, and that kind of brings in a different dynamics into the whole narrative. And also the volume versus value games there are again different from for his kind of a business. Shiv Kumar, what essentially we were talking about is that grey cement. We were talking about the challenges to the grey cement industry when it comes to understanding where your demand comes from, understanding how to collect that and put that into a piece of forecast, and then try to meet that forecast. What are the when you look at it from your point of view? What are the gaps you see in that collection of data from for your particular set of your particular sector?
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm from the Birla, right? Respected panel members, Mr. Girish. Very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Green cement and white cement is totally different. White cement is basically a premium product, so it needs to be handled properly. First part is that we are from the top to bottom level and the down level. We had given priority to SNOP numbers, and we are taking the marketing intelligence number about our sales forecast. So this was the strength we are doing to create a market demand and better catering in the market. We are started focusing more on the rural part also. IT team has played a wonderful role. If we see in the COVID-19, there was the steepest fall in the production and demand in the developing countries, where construction industry is the backbone of the economy. Even we lost a volume of 30% during the COVID month, like in the April and the mid-May. But this IT has played a wonderful role that we got connected with the stockists, retailers, painters, even in the market to create a better demand. Suppose some particular zone is not catering, we were shifting our product to the different zone area to meet the demand. So IT has really played a very wonderful role. Even we had reimagined our legacy process and embrace digital to create an operational efficiency and reduce expense cost factors. We had also given focus on the supply chain robustness, operational excellence, and cost effectiveness to cater the demand. Other than that, from the top to down level, business continuity plan model was because of A plant is top. What you can do next to cater from the B plant in terms of economy, in terms of cost, in terms of better delivery, in terms of better reaching to the customers to fulfill the demand. If we see overall today's topic, so our focus should be that we must focus more on our backup plan like transport, communication, supplier distribution process, cash flows, automation. But digitalization, it depends upon industry to industry. Some will be working for the manual or stocking pen work or the paper work, but it will apply industry to industry. Some will be going for automation, some will be going for robotics purpose, sense warehouses and all. So again, it depends. Digitalization will differ from industry to industry. For Amazon, it will be a different digitalization. For the cement industry, it will be a different digitalization. So our main motto in coming days will be business continuity plan, backup plan for transport communication, cash flows, supply distribution process, remote working arrangement for all the team members, revisit supply chain design. And over and above, I will say this one, cement producer can drive significant business outcomes and gain an edge over their competition by enabling close integration of physical and digital systems, prioritize automations, deriving actionable insight using predictive data analysis. From top to bottom, it should be aligned. And people have to do investment for the training also, investment in supply chain training, software, modeling scenarios, creation, artificial intelligence. So according to me, this should be the way forward for the logistic team people.
Yeah, we have created a very interesting. You have created a very interesting narrative here, which is music probably to any IT person sitting and listening to you. Talking about modeling and scenario building and those issues. If I were to take it to Kapil, given your priorities, how high in the priorities do these things rank?
The list that Mr. Shiv Kumar just narrated.
Yes.
So Girish, for me, if you ask, in business excellence, I have just two clear-cut agenda, that is bring value through sales improvement and the supply chain improvement. So obviously it is like 50% which
Yes.
goes towards supply chain. But yes, in my next role, which I will be starting, that will be core supply chain, then that will become my 100% priority.
Anjan, if you want to come in here and see, look at how do these kind of decision support systems, how do they rank in priority when you look at it towards, you have multiple things that you have to spend on when it comes to automation, right from the yard to the truck, to everything needs some kind of intervention and automation and investment. So when you look at rank these investments, where do you think things like decision support would rank when in that? How high would you place their priority?
So I think decision support will come fairly high. If I look at it a little bit differently, so what, as you rightly said, so in case of gray cement, it's a huge volume, and the distribution optimization was the first piece that became very important, right? So distribution optimization, we already have
Yes.
one of the best-in-class solutions which is there, and we are
Yes.
further improving it. Second was ensuring the real-time visibility for the transit, and also from GPS to all those technologies we had invested. Then the turnaround time improvement for the inside plant and the yard, like you were saying. So whether it is RFID based or whether it is other smart card based, or these sort of solutions came in place. And definitely now we are in the phase of the control tower kind of a system we have started off, which is essentially a real-time decision support system, wherein you can do the interventions or the escalations basis the problems on the ground. I think what currently we have not been able to really focus on is probably the smart warehousing, because cement industry warehouses are mostly unorganized, and it's hugely labor driven, so that still now robotics or all those parts have not penetrated the cement industry to that extent. As far as this video surveillance or those kind of technologies, I see that coming in after the COVID place, especially because you cannot have physical so much monitoring and all that. So those kind of technologies might come in. But as far as decision support systems go, I think all the cement companies are doing it at some level or the other, and that comes in the, I would say, top 3 bracket definitely. Girish.
Oh, that's very interesting. Girikanth, any comments?
Yeah, it's interesting to understand from the industry players their priorities. Normally, we look at the maturity, right? In the maturity, different companies could be at different levels, and we also look at the layers of the supply chain planning and then the supply chain execution. And Anjan has talked about uh, uh, the CPFR you mentioned, right? Okay.
Yes.
I will touch upon that and then I will go to the logistics execution. Jargon, etc. aside, like when I look at the way when I look at the maturity curve, probably in the 2000 or the early 2000, sometime around that, when people implemented the supply chain planning systems, like they were transitioning. Okay, earlier we were based on the annual planning, and then I would come what may, whatever might happen in the market, I would stick to my annual plan itself. Then from there we moved to the monthly planning. Let me replan month on month. Let me look at the market demand and then plan my supplies. So what was vogue at that particular point of time was the monthly planning cycle. Why monthly? Why can't it be a fortnightly? Why can't it be weekly? There was not much of a thought that was applied there. Okay, but I heard, Anjan, that they use the 10-day time buckets. Okay. Then
Kapil is doing the weekly. Kapil is moving towards weekly. JK Lakshmi is doing towards
now
weekly.
people are talking about the daily demand sensing. Okay, I want to sense my demand, and on that particular basis, I want to do the replenishment. So if you are able to adjust your demand, okay, and sense the demand and adjust the demand in the daily time buckets, you can always drive your replenishment accordingly. Okay, and here one of the companies which I really admire, okay, is Asian Paints. Okay, what do they say? We can take some parallels with them. You spoke about the mason, right? I'm trying to understand from the mason. They connect to the painter. Okay, because a painter, when he is doing his work, it's not that he's suddenly he wakes up in the morning and then he goes and starts buying the paint. So he knows the demand. So he goes to the dealer, the nearby hardware shop, and then he places his order. They say that within 4 hours I'm going to supply. Okay, so the entire backend is tuned in such a way that you place the order because you know that you are going to start your work, and on that particular basis I will provide the supplies. And with today's technologies, it is possible. It is possible that how much time are you willing to wait? If you say I'm going to wait, I will place the order and I will wait for 1 day, you can always go and tweak where is it that I have to keep my inventory, and from there I will supply according to the demand. Okay, these technologies are available, they are at work, and that probably can address partly the problem that you have talked about, a lot of this demand fluctuation. Okay, coming to the supply chain execution, smart warehouses, etc. Yeah, definitely. If there is a lot of wastage, first we want to move away from these go downs to more organized warehouses. So I don't want to keep the stock on the floor. I want to stack them up and in a proper manner, and I want to do regular physical counts. The variation between the physical inventory and the book inventory is minimized. I want to know where to store how much of the product, okay, and optimize the space accordingly. So these are all possible, okay, and you can also probably warehouses, when you implement those systems, they also improve the turnaround time, because if the vehicle is spending a lot of time outside the gate, okay, we can always bring in that what we call as the dock appointment, okay. So he will come, and then there is not too much of a congestion outside your gate. He comes in time, he does he picks it up, and then he leaves. And you can monitor this entire time, right from the moment I have placed the indent for the trucks till the time I have received the POD. How much of the time is spent by the truck at each of the stages? Okay, when did he report, and did he report the same vehicle? How much time did it take for the loading and the gate out process? And then the in transit, probably I provisioned 2 days or something like that, and he has taken more than that. And at the dealer end, did the unloading happen on time? Is it my problem, his problem, whose problem? We can analyze all that so that you reward the transporters who are performing well, and you also improve the truck turnaround time.
Interesting. Quite a number of these things have got the unfortunate part is that unlike in the other industries, I visited a couple of cement plants and it takes you around 80 kilometers, 90 kilometers from the nearest civilization. And therefore, there are a lot of plants where you don't even have a steady stream of trucks coming in. So, there are certain, what do you call it, business imperatives which create some kind of constraints for a cement industry. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kapil.
So Girish,
No,
you are
absolutely
absolutely
right.
right. You are
Yeah,
absolutely
sorry,
right.
Kapil.
But there is one more point which I just want to add what Girikanth just said. Today gradually a new trend has started coming up where customers, or I can say dealers, had started demanding small delivery in very, very less time with most economical way. Uh, so everything they want everything perfect, and that's the expectation. And I think demand is gradually increasing for such kind of things, which becomes our challenges even more difficult as supply chain people.
Yeah, which brings one of the biggest, the elephant in the room, the cost.
Yeah.
It's always that as a logistics person, we are always under tremendous pressure to. There's only one thing that's there on our heads, which is reduce cost. Given what has happened over the last few months and the kind of uncertainties it has thrown, I am very sure that by now you have squeezed out every possible cost saving from the transporter per se. So, do we have a real visibility on cost as a function and where the leaks are? Probably I'll start with Anjan.
Yeah, so I think that visibility is there, Girish, and the visibility is there, I'm sure, for all the players. But the question is right, as Kapil was saying, is uh, and it also part of it you addressed when you said that whether I look at the cost center or I look at the contribution that I generate from the logistics and supply chain part, because especially in the COVID scenario, I would say, let me just take 2 minutes. When we started off initially, we had a very like Shiv was saying, the demand was less, so and your forecast was that it will be very uncertain business scenario, whether we will be able to, for what kind of volumes you will do, and therefore the focus was how do we optimize the costs. And the initial period you were thinking of that, but then from June onwards, if you look at cement industry per se, the demand saw a quite healthy growth. And once you have that kind of a scenario, and at the same time your production facilities are operating with multiple challenges with respect to manpower, with respect to labor availability, quarantine regulations, all of that. Some of the places drivers are not available. So there your focus became that how do I move the material to the market and meet the demand. So there the cost kind of is, I wouldn't say it is secondary, but it kind of you cannot just focus on the cost. You have to sacrifice some part of the cost to actually fulfill the market demand and generate some positive contribution for the business. But having come back to what your question was, that how much of it we were able to uh, take and how much what further we can do possibly. What we started was we looked at what are the points in the transportation chain where digital is still not playing such an important role, and we have really focused on accelerating that. So one example I would like to give is the acknowledgement or the proof of delivery piece, which was a big challenge for the transporters. And we implemented the electronic proof of delivery, And today, a significant part of the acknowledgements are coming through the electronic mode. So those are the kind of hidden levers which you will have to exercise to take any further, optimization. Because base rates, I would say, it is very difficult to see any further optimization unless, and especially with the steep jump in diesel prices and all that, kind of derailed all the efforts
Yes.
in June itself.
Kapil, any insights on this particular aspect of it?
Yeah, so for us, this Corona time actually helped in terms of, a lot of projects which were almost at halt on the digital side. Those actually kick-started and with very, very good speed, I would say. Whether it is putting up GPS on our vehicles or bringing their activation to a very high level, their tracking, and then converting those tracking into useful results, and then using those outcome as the parameters for bringing discipline and visibility and all those things. Then e-bidding, at certain places, which has brought a tremendous value. In between, there was a time when diesel prices started going up, and at e-bidding we were still getting trucks at a lower rates. So people were increasing their freight rates for certain places, and we were still reducing the rates because e-bidding was giving us enough trucks for certain routes. So that actually opened up eyes for everybody, at other plants, that there are opportunities available which can be explored if you use the digital tools very well. So yeah, these are the areas which helped us during this COVID time.
Shiv, if I were to come to you with a kind of what are the kind of technology initiatives that you would like to see to bring about operational efficiencies, to make your life easier, let's say?
See, when we talk of operational efficiency, as far as we are having SAP, we are doing the data are being generated from there. It is being monitored at the top level as well as down the level. So major focus need to be given in the current coming months. The dashboard should be not only used by the top management, it should be used at all levels. So dashboard culture should come immediately at the stockist level also, the top management level also, the marketing level also, the logistics level also. So dashboards are going to play a very important role in terms of all for the better planning, for your orders, for your inventory levels, for your cost parameters and all. Suppose the dashboard is showing the green line that you are in a green zone. If it's coming on a red zone, it means you need to work it out and for a better decision making. The culture of dashboards will definitely going to play an important role, as well as investment in the, like CNF agents are there. They're not much worried about your cargo clearance and all. So whenever they are hiring the people, they must be IT skills in the coming days. So that is also going to add value to us in the supply chain industry. But again, I told you that again, it depends upon the product, what type of product you are dealing in and what type of model you are going to approach. Cement will be industry will be different, Flipkart will be different, Amazon will be different, food industry will be different. So it's purely a call, nature of your industry will set up. Like Anjan sir was telling about we need to create awareness to the transporter also who don't want to change their mindset. Suppose my plant is at a remote location area. There's a single transporter. We can't take any 2, 3 other transporter because there is a money power, muscle power, and a union-based transporter. Even we want to go for a cost reductions and all, we can't do that. Ultimately, we have to run the show. So these are the challenges at location also. Suppose if my plant would have been a different place, suppose this Birla plant would have been a different place, I could have a multiple transport, I would have better economics for negotiations of rates and all. So
interesting.
Challenges are there, but slowly people have to change their mindset. Even in the 6 months, there has been a tremendous change in the digital technology. People have started using it in the shorter time period.
Kapil, if I were to borrow from something from it, you can take it to a slightly different level. One of the challenges that will come up now is multimodal. The government is also emphasizing on multimodal transportation as a part of it. They're creating multimodal hubs. How ready, what is the kind of operational efficiencies that we already, most cement operations, wherever possible, where there's a railhead, are multimodal today. They do both dispatches by train as well as by rail as well as by road, though there are some, what I would rather look at it not in terms of anything else, but collaboration, horizontal collaboration and vertical collaboration with the railways, with the truckers, and within the organization as necessary for this to be running smoothly. If I were to look at it from the collaboration perspective, what are the challenges that you see? Are there any challenges in that collaboration, both vertical and horizontal?
So, Girish, as of now, rail and road are the two options only which you can say as a multimodal. In rail, as of now, the biggest gap is you can only supply the bagged cement as of now. Gradually, there are new containers kind of things are coming up where you can even transport the bulk cement, put just on the rake and take it to the far away destination, and then you can put those containers on the truck and then you can take it to the markets. Those things have started happening, but still it's on the bagged thing. And in railway, the biggest challenge that comes up is that the priority that cement industry gets at time, it's something which sometimes hurts us. um, of course there are some benefits also that we get at times along with other people, but if you have to take material to the farther location, railway definitely is much cheaper, but if you don't get it, then that becomes a challenge. uh, Otherwise, aligning with the railway, I don't find much of the challenge other than creating infrastructure at the destination places, because there are certain railway sidings where rail can go there, but you don't get enough place to store the cement at those destinations. And then there are demurrage, wharfage, and other things which always creates a pressure on you because you have to empty out everything without any infrastructure over there. So that is something which is at the part of railway. If they create more railway sidings ready for our usage, it could be more helpful. Otherwise, I don't find any big challenge other than that.
Anjan, anything to add to that? I'm essentially looking forward in terms of, because you have multiple entities. You have the road, the rail, and when the rail reaches, you again need a road connection and warehouse facilities available. So the whole team needs to collaborate.
There are three challenges essentially, if I look at it, and Kapil rightly said most of it. So, we are using all the modes, railroad, and even sea. We have some mode. Sea also we are using, and we are also using the loose cement wagons and all. But if I look at it from a rail to road or even Concord or all of that, the challenge the first challenge is the cost economics has to come as most optimal if by multimode. That is the first thing, because unless you are cost wise you are the cheapest, that is the cheapest option, nobody is going to be able to sustain that multimodal operation. Second, as you rightly said, it is not just about collaboration. It is three or whatever level of service providers with different set of capabilities.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
For railways, it is that more and more they are giving these, say for example in bag cement HL wagons. So HL wagon for railway, it is more load carried in one rake. But for the consigner, it is that you have to unload that much shipment and generate that those many orders within a short period of time, like Kapil was saying. And the railway sidings or the nearby warehouses might not have that kind of a storage infrastructure. So for us, it is a different challenge. For the C&A, for the handling agent, that is a different challenge. And obviously, the secondary operations in most of these railway sidings in India, unfortunately, are controlled by either syndicates, unions, or whatever local set of service providers who are not really that much professional at if you look at it. So these set of entities with different capabilities and different levels, matching them is becomes important. Third thing that I think is that what happens is that nobody wants to do it end to end, right? And that is where we are trying to work with Concord, work with railways in certain cases, that at least for the secondary leg do the end to end, so that we as a consigner don't need to take those many headaches more, and we are able to say that okay, this is what we are expecting, this is the service level agreement, and this is what you have to deliver. So I think these three things I would say is a kind of a
Girikanth, if I were to take this back again to you, we keep speaking on these issues, and especially where multiple entities are involved, a good technology backup which will allow all the people to be on the same page. One of the caveats here is that a lot of people in the secondary and the transport, especially the truck side of it, are not on that page. When you look at right, Anjan?
Yeah,
the technology capabilities are vastly differing when it comes to the shipper and the transporter. How do you enable a seamless communication and data exchange between players with minimal intervention at the at certain nodes, like probably the transporter? You can't and these are not transporters who are always tied to the who are always doing work only with them. There, a lot of them would be market trucks also. Some 30-40% would be market trucks.
Depending on location to location, it is higher actually. Maybe if somewhere actually some places we might want to have more market trucks to get a cost benefit, like Kapil was saying.
Yes.
But in certain cases, because you are it is the grinding unit and it needs to service a metro location, so there I need more reliable fleet, and there I would like to have a fixed pool of fleet program. But anyway, the question for Girikanth, how do we
he needs to factor in both sides of it.
Yeah.
The primary reason is that with the money he is getting, he won't be able to afford too much of technology.
Yeah.
And the driver takes away a significant portion.
Yeah, I see it a slightly different way. And before I answer that, I will talk about the one that IT has done to the organization. Okay, when I started my career, if there is any interdepartmental coordination that is needed, we used to write one inter-office memo, and it would go through that particular through proper channel. It would go to my manager. It would go to his peer, and then so that's the collaboration between different entities within the organization. And what has IT done? An ERP. It has brought in a lot of parallel communication. A guy takes the sales order. He does not know who is going to produce it. He does not know what kind of quality checks will be done and by whom. In all probability, he might not even know who is the QA guy. Okay, he does not know who is the guy who is going to dispatch. All that is encompassed in this particular object called sales order. And the sales order generates a production order, and that triggers a quality notification, and that triggers your shipment instructions. And then people are simply reading, okay, I don't know how this organization works. Okay, I just need to pick up my instruction and then execute. Okay, that's the, so IT is the, I call ERP systems and all these technologies as the conductor of an orchestra. You just play your piece, okay, and it is orchestrating the entire thing. Okay. Now the next level of evolution for us is to, yeah, we have achieved whatever we could within the organizational boundaries. Now I want to bring the different entities, and then I want to orchestrate this communication across different entities. And now I understand, okay, if a factory worker is able to pick up that particular instruction and then execute that particular production order, he takes it, he goes to the store, and then he gets the material issued. That's it. A very similar thing can also be done with the transporters. So it is not that today we need someone who has done maybe an MSc in computers, okay, to become a driver, okay, to use this particular technology. We can orchestrate, okay, the collaboration between, like Anjan has spoken about, 3 entities, right? You have the C&F agents, we have the drivers, the transporters, and then we have the shippers. Okay, you bring in any number of entities, we can break down the whole thing and pass on these instructions. We call it as, in a shipment, okay, I have stage 1, stage 2. Stage 1 is being executed by my railways. Stage 2 is going to be executed by my transporter. Okay, bringing in that particular coordination, and then they executing on the instructions that are worked out by the systems is possible. Okay, so like we today we are all talking about China, right? And
can I just intervene? So Girikanth, here there is another angle to the transporter problem, especially. So for example, SAP sales order, whether it is working in say UltraTech or JK or Lakshmi or anywhere else, it probably remains very similar, right? It is a standard kind of a thing. But for a transporter, he says that at UltraTech, when I go, I have to follow this system. Whether it is an online also, even a technology-based system. I go to JK Lakshmi, I have to follow this system. So it may not be, it may have similar information, but these are currently not kind of very standardized kind of packages, is what I have gathered. Of course, you have Oracle TMS or some of the SAP systems also are available, but those are not something which a transporter really uses. So they have their own kind of the small kind of packages which they build through the local IT companies to manage their own fleet, and that is what they take the data from our system, maybe UltraTech system or a JK Lakshmi or whatever company system, and then they feed it into their kind of software. So currently that is the way the transactions are happening. So that is why the challenge for them is to adjust to all these kind of systems. It's not just that, it's not really comparable to a factory worker kind of, I would say.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that point. One of the things when we are talking about inter-organizational collaboration, the standards are very, very important. And it's not that there are no standards. See, the set of information is the same. Okay, what is the from location, what is the to location, what is the material that is being sent, what is the quantity. So, and all this, there were attempts at standardization. So all the EDI structures, okay, in the EDI you had all those notifications, right? So that has provided certain amount of standardization. I take your point that, yeah, maybe that particular standard object called the shipment will come from the shipper. Now, how can he get it into his software? Okay, so there are protocols. It can be made very easy. It is not that difficult, because good thing is your Microsoft Excel, okay, is the common denominator for everyone. Everybody says that if I'm able to get it into an Excel, it is fine. From there, people say, yeah, if you are giving me a mobile app, and if I'm able to get that particular instruction on my mobile app, then I will go and execute it. So the networks, okay, whenever we are talking about the inter-organizational collaboration, networks will be playing a major role. And that is where we are also working with people like you, okay, in bringing in that particular standardization, because SAP is the common denominator again, right? So can I get that particular information, and then we will take the responsibility of giving it to him in the technology that he is comfortable with. He is comfortable on a paper, not a problem. He is comfortable getting it on a WhatsApp, not a problem. Okay, WhatsApp is again another common denominator. So that integration is possible. So there is a lot of, when we are talking about digital and all, okay, there is a lot of evolution that is happening. And fortunately, technologies like WhatsApp and all are making many things simple. People are conducting large businesses on WhatsApp. Okay, so even our driver will be able to do business with us over WhatsApp.
Interesting. So now
that's how
I have
we
just
see.
yeah, go ahead.
If you don't vehicle, that's not a problem. Okay, but the lead times should not be very high on account of the information lag. That's where technology comes into the play, right? So if you say today it is taking 2 days or something like that, can we cut down to 1 day by reducing this information lag? And there are enough technologies to reduce that particular information lag.
I agree with Girikanth. Just one point, Girish.
Yeah, sure,
I agree with Girish. But you know what I realize, and what I think probably Anjan was trying to say is, even if you ask these people that at what platform are they comfortable, and if you create the whole infrastructure for them, the adoption of the system is again a very big challenge for them. And as long as it gives them very huge value could be for us, but unless until it gives them a very big value, it's really very difficult for us to, you know, push them to adopt this particular piece. And without adoption, the value that we were also expecting is not possible, and that completely disturbed the ROI calculation that we do in the beginning.
Typical, yes.
I agree. One good sign that I see is the success of EPOD, right? So if we have solved the EPOD problem, which is a between two organizations, then we can bring in the other elements as well. Before the POD, this is my shipment. Please confirm, are you going to place the truck or not? And please keep reporting. Please let me know, where are you? Are you taking it? Are there any damages? So yeah, but EPOD success, we can build on top of that.
If I were to now stick, I just have time for one question which I would want to ask all of you. Probably starting with Shiv. Shiv, if I were to ask you, what are the wish lists that you have from a technology perspective that you would like to see coming in?
See, my wish list will be always be a dashboard. Whenever I interact with the IT department, I always focus on dashboards reports, which is not meant for only the management. It should be at all levels, whether it's a production planning, whether it's a sales SNOP numbers planning. Because what happens, the SNOP numbers are fixed, but it is not respected by the marketing team, because they always want the product in the market. So if marketing start respecting the SNOP numbers and start punching the orders, then there will be no demand and supply gap, and there will be no stock out situations. So the focus should be more on cost optimization model, improvement in the service level, inventory optimization, dashboards reports, and investment in the IT skills at all levels, whether it's a CNF level or transportation level or the stockist level and all. See what happens, we are dealing with the Container Corporation of India. Today, still we are getting the physical documents from them for our cargo clearance. Today they have not digitalized their IBB system. They are giving us a physical copy, then we have to scan it, then send it for cargo clearance. If we are not getting the scan copy, then we have to request them, sir, mera cargo atka hua, aap chithi likhiye, maal chudwaiye. So, like Container Corporation is a Navratna company, it's a government company. So their IT department has to rethink and give us a digital documentation, not in the physical form, so that our cargo can very well easily clear. The moment we get them in, we can shoot the cargo, the documents at a particular terminal for our cargo clearance. So this is my view. Physical documentation part, digitalization should be also number one for at all sectors. Like right now,
across
we
the
are
ecosystem. Yes.
generating, we are generating a lot of invoices. Like 80 containers are coming, so we have to generate a lot of invoices, and we are at a remote location area. So there's no courier service because for last 6 months. So we have to scan multiple documents and send to the Jodhpur. Jodhpur courier will send and cargo for the cargo clearance. So some sort of it should be adopted by all the industry. The moment your rake is finished, the counterpart at your marketing, they should generate themselves the invoices, the bulk invoices. This culture is still not coming. Still marketing is dependent on the logistics for the documentation part. So cultural change, some mindset change, some physical documentation part, and again the viewing of your reports at all levels needs to be relooked from my point of view.
Thank you. Kapil?
So I agree with Shiv. Dashboard and KPIs are very, very important to be tracked for any initiative, I would say. So that is one piece, and I think there are many technologies available to deliver this thing also. Then the second thing is, when I say once that vehicle moves out of the plant premises, then the tracking of that vehicle. Now, for the dedicated vehicle or the regular vehicle, GPS is really very, very handy. But for the remaining piece, you again have a place ambiguity or the gray area, which really disturbs us and still does not allow us to completely get a control or hand on the on the visibility, or in terms of bringing discipline, or rest the whole piece, I would say. Because if you can't make a rule for everybody, then actually you are forgiving everyone. You are not
Yes.
able to make the rule for anyone. So whatever journey you have traveled of 60%, 70% of visibility, that also does not give you the whole value. So that is again the piece at which technology can help, still can help. And the third one is, as I said, that at weekly level planning we have already working, but then connection of this weekly level demand with the complete end-to-end automation till the execution happens, because daily basis demand fluctuates at each market, and then using that fluctuation with the availability of vehicle, and then dispatching the material at all the plants based on certain schedule and all. So running this complete piece in a most optimum manner is a very, very big and challenging task. If done well, has a huge potential.
Interesting. Interesting. Yes. Anjan, if I were to ask you for your wish list and also, yeah.
So wish list in terms of if I look at the technology perspective, of course there are a whole host of things that either we are already doing or we are we are piloting or experimenting, and I think we heard all of us are doing.
Yes.
I look at it in two ways. One is that what we were talking of, the transporter, the C&F, the driver, for them, how we can make technology more useful for their, which in turn, it makes things more controllable from a logistics perspective for the shippers and all that. So I think the consumer end, what I was trying to say is that a lot of things are happening, but even IT companies probably would see that as a more revenue generating stream than the technologies that are being happening for the transportation and the driving piece of it. And hopefully with that, say for example, a driver is moving with a vehicle. Now he knows, okay, 10 kilometers down the line, there is a, zone which is where there is a risk of COVID incidence has increased or something. All these technologies are coming in place, but they are, I think, not very widely prevalent. And like Kapil was saying, how do we make it, how do we drive the adoption? And that piece of the supply chain, if we can address, it becomes a lot more easier for the companies. So forecasting, I would say, even if we move to a perfect level, there is no forecast accuracy ka, you cannot depend on forecast accuracy. Ultimately, the real-time demand sensing is where the thing will be there. So forecast accuracy ke liye we will not be able to differentiate very much in between the companies. So I think that was one piece. The other piece I think very, very important, which Shiv talked about, is how do we reskill the supply chain people? Because ये technology तो आ जाएगा, technology will come, but how do we reskill us, because we have used to such ways of working and all that. So that change management and leadership part, that becomes important. So wish list आप बोलो कि नहीं, मुझे नहीं पता वो, I don't know whether you call it a wish list, but that is a very, very, very critical piece for the next few months and the years to come, because digitalization में alternative नहीं है. So whether you say it is a wish list, I don't say it's a wish list, because most of it we don't have any alternative now anymore.
Yes. No, Anjan, that's very true, because as good a tool is as good as the person who is using the tool. If the person is not able to use the tool well, then however great the tool is, it is of no use to the organization. So the man behind the tool is still very, very critical for quite a long while, and I see it now.
You and Girikanth should partner together to create the solutions for all of us.
In fact, I was wondering, in this day of mobile and digital, why is it necessary for a GPS to be there if a driver has a smartphone? Can I have him download an app, and that app will do the function instead of a GPS? There are.
That is a very, very good suggestion. I'll tell you a practical problem. I don't know whether we have time or not, but say for example, there are many plants, cement plants, जहाँ पे आपका network ही proper नहीं है. वो smartphone आपका either काम नहीं करेगा, या from safety perspective we cannot use smartphone within a certain radius. So we say smartphone and app से हो जाएगा, but then those are the practical challenges which are there, and obviously we are working for that also. Let's see.
Girish, it's not good for the drivers also. No? They don't want to be tracked, so they get a lot of exposure. Their battery goes away.
Yes, that is true. The detour to the village, गांव जाने का problem खत्म हो जाएगा. That will be a problem for them.
Yeah.
वो दिवाली में माल लेके भर के चले गए, एक्सक्यूज मी, दिवाली में माल भर के चले गए, तो मैंने पूछा भैया तुम्हारे पास जीपीएस है क्या? तो साहब क्यों मरवा, हमने बंद कर दिया, दिवाली मनाने दो, आराम से आपका माल पहुंचा देंगे. So like WhatsApp has also plays a very wonderful role. Last week क्या हुआ, एक ईवी ड्राइवर गलत लेके चला गया, गोवा वाला कोटा का ले लिया, कोटा वाला इसका ले लिया. But the driver, both the driver were smart. They transmitted the e-bill to each other. साहब गलती हो गई है प्लांट से हमारी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन कलेक्शन में, बट हम लोगों ने सॉल्व कर लिया. तो some drivers are smart, some are not smart. Like here, transporter, they are not ready to install the GPRS system because they have been working for the last 30 years. They don't want to change the mindset. But those who are youngcomers or the new generation, those who are having their own fleets, they have themselves put the GPRS to track their own vehicle and their drivers. तो माइंडसेट अभी सब लोगों का चेंज करना पड़ेगा कि जीपीआरएस लगाओ, आरएफआईडी लगाओ, टाइम से पहुंचो, रियल टाइम विजिबिलिटी हो, रियल टाइम ट्रैकिंग हो, रियल टाइम इंफॉर्मेशन मिले. दे डोंट वांट टू इंटीग्रेट विद आवर आईटी सिस्टम आल्सो बिकॉज़ दे विल बी ट्रैक्ड. साहब हम तो पहुंच जाएंगे, उसको फोन करेंगे, एक को फोन करना, साहब कहां पहुंचे हो? पहुंच रहा हूं साहब, जाम है. तो वी डोंट नो, until unless we don't have, we have to rely on the words of the transporter only. ये भी एक चैलेंज है.
Yes. Then at the end of the day, the whole whatever we talk about, unless it is implemented by the man on the ground and accepted as a part of life, all of them will remain nice statements to have. And in fact, if I look at the history of technology failures and implementation failures, it has been that the users never accepted the technology, and therefore the technology, it was not the technology was bad, it is just that the users did not find value enough to use that technology, or they found ways by which they could get away not using it, and which again brings back the pressure on the service providers as to provide a technology which will make them ease of use and and the benefits of use need to be transparent. So I think these are some of the larger issues that the technology service providers need to resolve. At some point in time, I too was doing technology, and I still remember the biggest challenge to the use of technology was the complicated screens that we used to provide, saying that fill in all these details. Till one day we got up and said, why don't we become like Google? When you go to a Google homepage, there is no distraction. There's just one line where you enter what you want. And then everything else, the technology takes over. So kind of making it simple for the user is one of the biggest challenges that technology providers have to face. On the other aspect of it, the users will have the users more than as Anjan rightly said, you can bring in the best of technology. Today, I don't think that is a problem. It is how good will the application or the adaptability of the technology by the rank and file that will determine the success of that. And therefore, any organization, before they embark on this journey of automation and investing huge amounts into IT, would like to look at the adoption of technology and how easy is it for me to adopt it, rather than look at just in terms of somewhere the return on investment fails because adoption doesn't happen. That could be one of the reasons why we look at technology with a little bit of suspicion. A number of cases have been there where people have led to the failure of it. Girikanth, your last comments.
I fully agree with you. Okay, and before that, I will share some interesting stuff. Okay, when I was implementing the supply chain planning solutions, and supply chain planning solutions you take from any vendor. Okay, they are not. It is not that you get up in the morning and then you say, "Yeah, I want to look at the screen." Okay, they are not like that. Okay.
Yes.
So we were working with people who were close to their retirement, because those were the people who knew the supply chain. They were running the supply chain day in and day out. Now, how do you get this guy sit in front? In those days, the early days of computerization, it's very difficult for us to bring him and then make him sit in front of the computer. Okay, he would not even hold the mouse. Okay, he would sit afar and then say, "I will tell you, you operate it for me." Okay, and then they understood. Okay, the internet came, your connectivity improved. Okay, they found entertaining stuff on the net. Okay, that's the motivation for them. Okay, they found that there are many things that they can access over the internet. Okay, then they would say, "Hey, can you please come in the evening and show me how do I operate this?" Okay, so it's the entertainment that they got. Okay, a larger entertainment. Okay, that's what motivated them to come closer to the computers and then start using them. Now the point is, I look at many people. You will find some elderly person playing some cards. Okay, all that he would know is how to play a game on that particular thing. Okay, so gamification is possibly one of the ways. Okay, and then you incentivize. For example, we only are using GPay, and then after that we will say, you have got some 5 points. I haven't understood what those 5 points are. Okay, you swipe it or something like that, it bursts, and then you celebrate. What have I got? I have got 5 points. 5 points. I don't know when I will use them. Okay, so there is an inherent greed. Okay, in everyone, and people would like it to be entertaining. So to be honest, okay, I'm also from a technology company. We don't focus on this entertainment part and the adoption part much, but then there is plenty of scope to incentivize these guys. Okay, maybe it is like your GPay or something like that, right? Okay, you have got 5 points for reporting this particular event. That will inherently, that possibly could motivate the drivers. We can have that kind of applications, and that can possibly increase the adoption. But I agree with you. It is not ease of use. I can create any kind of a sexy screen, but still one might not come close to that. Okay, we have to use this we have to motivate them. I will use the word motivate. Okay, what is his motivation? His motivation is not that I will go and report, okay, that I am late. Okay, usko aur char dant padega. Okay, but how do I incentivize him? So these possibly that you just need to tell us. Okay, technology, it is all there. We just need to pick up the right ingredients and then provide that particular mix. But this is very insightful to us. Okay, how do I motivate them? Yeah, doable, but it's just that we never knew it. Okay, that's the ask.
Thank you, Giri. Thank you, everyone. It's been interesting that we had a technology debate without bringing in any of the buzzwords of technology today, from artificial intelligence to machine learning to blockchain and stuff like that. We did a very interesting and practical set of discussions where we kept focused on business. And at the core of it, I keep thinking, technology is not business. Technology is something which will make your business processes easier. So you should be looking at the business first and then technology as a support to the business processes, creating efficiencies, creating reach, creating connectivity, helping people come together on the same page. And therefore, it should be the business. I strongly believe that business drives technology, except in a technology company where technology should drive business. But for us, it is interesting that we walk through a series of challenges which the logistics sector, specifically in the cement industry, which is very, very different from a CPG or a pharma firm would face. And therefore, we kept it. I would thank you very much for keeping it lively and interesting. Thank you, Anjan. Thank you, Kapil. Thank you, Shiv, for having taken time off and attend and spent your time with us. Thank you, Girikanth, also for being there and sharing your insights. Jaisal, it's now over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being there. And I think it was an interesting session, hearing everybody's insights and getting a gist on how cement industry right now is going through. So thank you, everyone, for all your insights, and pleasure having you all here. Thank you so much.